everyone, it's me Clayton, and I just got back from seeing the new It remake, which was released recently, starring Bill Skarsgård. Now, when it comes to the the Stephen King novel, it's one of his most well-known stories, and it was adapted into a 1990 miniseries, which doesn't really hold up very well. This remake, however, captures the fear that Stephen King intended to make with his original novel, while also having several great performances from its kid actors, a bunch of legit scary moments, and a surprising amount of humor, making it, in my opinion, one of the best Stephen King adaptations to date. Let's get to the story, shall we? The story takes place in 1989 in a small town called Derry, Maine, where 7 kids who are outcasts from the rest of the town band together to create the Losers Club. These 7 kids have all had experiences dealing with a supernatural entity who appears to be a clown named Pennywise, played by Bill Skarsgård. The kids have to band together and conquer their fears in order to take down Pennywise and to save themselves as well as all the kids in the town, because Pennywise feeds off of their fear. Now, the story here presented is actually better than in the miniseries from the 90s, considering that it focuses just on them when they were kids. I always thought that the first half of the story of it was better than the second half, and thankfully, since they focused the entirety of the runtime on the first half, it is a very successful story, considering the fear in the film feels very real, considering when you're a kid, you're a lot more vulnerable than when you're an adult. That's just common sense. And the fact that we have to see all of these kids' fears does build them up as characters, and it gets you to see them as more than just one-dimensional stereotypes, even though they are very much archetypes from the beginning. From the stuttering Bill to the overweight Ben to the token girl Beverly to the asthmatic kid, I forgot his name. It seems like every character is initially just an archetype, but they have a bit more depth to them as they go along. Not enough to make them three-dimensional, but at least enough so that you see them more as legit kids and not just character types. A lot of this has to do with the great acting on their parts. I think that Mike, Beverly, and Richie's actors are my favorites, mainly because Richie's incredibly talkative. But all 7 of the kid actors do a great job with their roles. But of course, the one who steals the show is Bill Skarsgård as Pennywise. One of the legit good parts about the 1990s miniseries was Tim Curry as Pennywise, but Bill Skarsgård takes a different approach to the character, making him legitimately terrifying while also mixing in a bit of the humor that both adds to the tension of the scenes and lets you know that Pennywise is having fun while terrorizing his victims. In my opinion, Bill Skarsgård does a better job of the character than Curry, and he kind of deserves a medal for making his character work. Now, the film also has a good use of practical effects and CGI. There is CGI used, but only when it's absolutely necessary. That's what I like about it. And while there are typical things that you would see in horror films, jump scares, lots of creature makeup, it's used effectively enough and often enough to the point where you do get legitimately terrified at least once or twice every 10 to 20 minutes. I know that my theater got a bunch of people startled at least a few times every 20 minutes. And even though the film is 2 hours and 15 minutes long, it never really feels that long, mainly because the pacing is excellent. We go from one scary scene to the next as we're introduced to more characters, and we have more of a sense of what's going on in this town. And like every great horror story, it just keeps building and building and building until it reaches its effective climax. And even though this is a chapter 1, it never really feels like a part 1, and it feels like the story does wrap up in a satisfying way, even though we know that there's a second part of the story. The music's also very effective, as it manages to ratchet up the tension and ratchet up the scares, but it also happens to fit in a few 1980s songs to fit the time period, and also for some of the scenes where the losers are bonding. So overall, this is a remake that happens to not only improve upon the source material, but it also manages to make them to be very faithful to it. There are certain scenes that aren't included. One that is obviously not included in any adaptation of the story. Thank God for that. But for the most part, it stays true to the spirit and to the scares of the original novel. To the point where I'm actually looking forward to seeing the second chapter, even if it's based on my least favorite part of the story. So, to wrap things up, it is an incredible horror film that I definitely recommend that you check out. I give it a 9 out of 10. See you next time.